Hello, everyone.
Hello there.
Last week we had the conversation about perfectionism and that we don't need to be perfect to be acceptable, to be loved. So that mustn't be our motivation on the spiritual journey, to be perfect in every way, to be acceptable in God's eyes. But then on looking or discussing that, um, we said there might be
Pitfall,
a
maybe.
pitfall, or one can draw a conclusion out of that. And we want to address that. And you stood,
Yeah. I said, and I think it also comes from childhood where it often came to the fore that if God loves me unconditionally, that means I can do whatever I want. God will still love me.
yes,
Now, if I work from that principle, does that mean I can do just anything that I want? And how does it, yeah. So I can be everybody's worst nightmare. I can be criminal even, and God loves me unconditionally. So often that would be something that you would think about and not really have an answer to.
yes. In other words, working backwards, we would say actually to say, well, we don't have to be perfect. We can have faults and we can make big mistakes. The grace is always there. Um, Working from that premise, we can say, no, but you can't work with that principle
Yeah.
because that will lead people to react in such a way.
Yeah.
So that um, draws
A statement. Yeah,
it
draws
draws a line
Yeah.
through it, and it says it can't be true because you'll create hooligans
Yeah.
running
Yeah.
awry.
And expecting God to just accept everything.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think it also then comes from the definition that we have of sin being doing evil things, doing bad things, always creating havoc, being really
Evil.
yes, all of those things. So that we see that as sin. And from that place, it holds. You cannot, and but it also comes from a place of ego, functioning from ego wounds, from what happened to you in your life. All of those things play a role. But if we look at sin, the definition of sin as missing the mark, missing your true potential, not reaching your true potential, which lies in your essential self, in your God spark, in that place that God put in you, which is in fact perfect, which comes from perfect love and will not want to harm anybody, will come from a place that wants the best for everything and everyone. If you look at it from that point, then God doesn't expect us to not make any mistakes, make any bad choices, do wrong things, because it comes from brokenness and not from wanting to be, from feeling that you are allowed anything and God must just dismiss it as
Yes,
nothing.
yes.
Yeah.
So it's a different premise. And
Yeah.
talking of assumptions or starting points from where we look at things, it's also, one discovers that we really work from a standpoint of fear. Much.
Yes, we're controlled by fear. We do the right thing because of fear.
Yes.
And that in itself cannot be right.
Yes, but that's the
way-
basis of a lot of religion. That if you aren't afraid of the consequences,
Yeah, they might. Yeah.
if fear isn't involved, we are creating a people,
Lawless.
lawless people.
Yeah, yeah.
So people are quite adamant that you have to be afraid of God. What will be the consequences? What will God do if I don't do this? And it is
Yeah.
so easy to become guilty, to become fearful.
But it also comes from the place where we believe that we were born in sin. We were born wanting to do the wrong thing. If we believe sin to be doing wrong things.
Yes.
But born in sin in that respect means that even before we were born, things were happening. Things were happening in our pre-generational, in our generations, and wounding happened, and it makes it difficult for us to reach our full potential. So looking at it that way, again, it's two different premises.
Yes. Yes.
So to in God's eye, He loves us unconditionally in that place that is so one with Him that it cannot be divided.
Yeah, it's yeah.
It is, and it's like Jesus said, abide in me like I abide in my Father, and that whole intermingling of oneness.
Yes.
So coming from that place of oneness, that place of true love, even with our brokenness,
Yes.
we can make mistakes, we can make wrong choices, we can even be, call it evil, jealous, all those things that are really not helpful in reaching our potential, and it's harming other people, harming our children, and God knows where it's coming from.
Yes, and often the old mystics, they used it. They said, as we said last week, oh, happy sin. Even those mistakes can be the doorways to deeper insight, to deeper growth.
Because the more you become aware of it, the more you become aware that this is not coming from the deep place.
Yes.
It's coming from the broken place. It's coming from ego.
Yes.
The more you can be less dominated, less controlled by it.
Yes.
And the more you can be living from this inner core of love, where you do not want to harm anybody.
Yeah. So we can work backwards, and we hope we're not confusing you.
Our dog pushed this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
That's it. When you have a baby border collie, you become out of focus.
You're having a conversation with your hand, one hand being chewed off.
But if you work from the premise of, if children aren't punished, they become spoiled and do everything possible.
Because they were born that way.
Yes. Then you can ask the question, but if I'm allowed to not be perfect, then I can do anything. It's almost as if it flows out of that.
Yes, out of that premise.
Yes. But if we say, no, but the whole discovering of our inner being, the discovery of God's love, our true self and what it means to us, there's a freedom there. So even if there's no punishment, it doesn't matter. I'm not doing this because I'm afraid of punishment. I'm doing this because it makes me come alive.
Yeah, and I'm free.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm actually free of the fear.
I'm free of the fear.
Yeah.
So it rests in love, where I discover that, goodness, but I have a lot of flaws, and God still loves me.
Yeah, and where does that come from? And looking at that and healing that, and yeah. So it's a very it's such a wide open approach,
Yes.
isn't it?
And it ties in, and it's exactly what Paul is talking about in Romans. In Romans 5, Romans 6, where Paul talks about the law, and then he says, we don't have to be tied to the law so much. The law is lifeless. It doesn't create life. And then he starts chapter 6 of Romans, and he says, so does that mean that because we live from grace, we can do whatever we want, all the things that's prohibited in the law, but the grace will only become more and more and more? It's exactly this question of Paul. But then he comes back and he says, no, but there's something mysterious. There's an awakening and a death and a new life. And from that,
it's coming from a different place.
it's coming from a different place.
So you don't need to be scared that you will become a total washout.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps us also to, as we talk about this, get to more clarity.
Please tell us if it was confusing or if we didn't manage to put it across.
Yeah.
So we can talk about it again.
Yes, yes. Until we get it right.
You tell us when we're getting it right.
Thank you, everybody. Talk again next week.
Keep well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.